This is Dave Reese of Blue Rail Trains, and I wanted to give you a little look and insight into the Blunami Android app, which is live now in the Google Play Store. It's technically still considered beta since we haven't added consisting yet, but the app itself is pretty darn sound and hundreds of people have been using it for a number of months, so I wouldn't hesitate to use it for running trains. And in fact, it has a number of features that are not in the iOS app, which I'm going to show you today. One thing I should say, this is not just a port of the iOS app. This is a complete rebuild of the app from the bottom up using the latest, greatest development platform. The iOS app was built on the original Blue Rail app from 2015 in Objective-C, and it's had many features added since then, and it's very stable and robust, but it has grown into the Blunami. But when Soundtrax asked us to make a Blunami Android, we saw this as a chance to build a complete new app for the ground up and to take everything we know about Tsunami and DCC and build the app so it's designed and optimized for what it's intended. It's built on a platform called .NET MAUI, and that platform allows us to export to Android, but also to iOS, PC, and Mac. So the app we're building here will export to all those different platforms. It has a fast SQL database and streamlined code, and it has the DCC spec built into the base code, so it's designed to run fast and last us into the foreseeable future. So just like on the Blue Rail app, you power up your locomotive and you launch the app. If you don't see your train, there's a little scan button up here that you hit. This little steam loco, he's called Little Hot Rod, which is because when I bought him, someone had painted flames on it like a hot rod, but so I painted it black instead. But so you press the connect button, and now it's connected. You press the name of the loco and it's going to take you to the train control screen. First thing it does is it brings up a CV scan, and it scans all the CVs in the locomotive, which takes about 4 seconds. That's pretty fast because that's 500 CVs that it just pulled in there. And the cool thing is, if you're connecting to many locos simultaneously and you're in the multi-train screen, it can gather these CVs concurrently. So it shouldn't really take you too much longer to connect to 4 trains as it does to connect to 1 train. Now the train controls are pretty similar in the train control screen, Android and iOS app. You've got your light control there, you've got bell, you've got short whistle, long whistle, all of those right there. You've got your direction and stop. You've got your normal throttle, which you can slide up and down, or you can press these little buttons down here, which increment it by 1 speed. Now, you don't tap above like you do in the iOS app. We haven't added that in there, but we will add that in there. But I do want to show you one other cool little option, is if you go into the settings, this is where the settings screen is, and we've got the general settings. We've added something down here called throttle type, and it's got you can set it to the outdoor throttle. And right now it's set with the swipe speed at 3. So when I go over here, we get this entirely different throttle. And what this is designed for is, because a lot of people were saying, I don't like looking at my phone and having to look at where the slider is while I'm running my trains. I don't want to focus on that. So this is designed for you to, if you tap anywhere above, then it speeds the train up by 1. If you tap anywhere below, it decreases the speed by 1. You can also swipe, which we had set to 3. So a swipe, there's 2. That brought us up to 3 there, right? And so this is just a cool way to run your train without looking at it. You can just sit there and do this. Now, if you're using a phone, it's actually got haptic feedback. So when you tap up here, you're going to feel a little pulse. And when you swipe, you feel like a vibration. And so that throttle feedback is designed to feel sort of tactile, so that you just sent a command, which I think is really cool. So another thing that you'll find in Android that's not in the Blunami iOS yet is improved support for function remapping. Now, if you go into the settings screen on Android, you're going to find this little function remap section down here. You go in here, and this has a list of all the effects that the train can do, starting with your headlight, all the way down, half speed, momentum, whistles, cutoff. This is everything that you can assign a function to. And it represents, you can see here, it's CVs 1.257 to 1.321, but it's not your problem anymore to know that. And over here, it's got listed which functions you have these mapped to. And so as you can see, the headlight and the backup light are mapped to 0. FX3 is mapped to function F24, F25, and so on. And if you want to change these, you can very easily change it. And I'll show you right now. If I go back to my train control screen and I look at the function panel, which is here, I can't remember if I showed that to you or not yet. The bell right now is assigned to F1, and so it's sitting right there. This is F15 through F28 over here. So now I'm going to go back to the function remap, and I'm going to go find my bell. I'm going to say, so you can see right now the bell is assigned to number 1. I'll go in here and I'll say, I don't want, instead of 1, I want it to be mapped to 28. And I hit save. And now when I go back and I look at function F28, there's the bell right down there. And so it's remapped it for us, which is really cool. And so I'll move it back because I'm used to it being on F1. Let me say, select U, 1, done. And so, you know, one of the cool things is that once you remap this, this gets written directly to the CVs. So every time you launch the app, it does that scan of all the CVs, and it knows your mapping, and it automatically maps the function buttons so that they're set correctly. So even if you've set this on your DCC system or anything else, every time you launch the app, it puts all the buttons in the correct place and names them appropriately, which is kind of neat. And then also, you know, when you close down your tablet and you go open it on your Android phone, you can see all the functions there too. Now, another thing which is separate is, let's say that you don't like the names that the app has assigned to these. Now we have this manage function panel. And so this is for if maybe you have you're on F28 and you don't like the name that's assigned to it. You can click here and you can write your own custom name there. I'm gonna name it Blue. And it's set to a toggle. I'm gonna lock that name. And what that does is that locks the name so that anytime you reload and it scans the CVs, it doesn't automatically name it. See, I've got my function name Blue there. That's particularly useful if you have your functions mapped to 2 things and you want to name it something very particular. So that is the function panel mapping. Now, one general difference in Android right now, let's go into the settings screen. It's got all the settings screens just like you have in iOS, and they all work perfect. But one of the differences is that when you go in here to press a slider, you don't actually slide it to change like I'm in the master volume. You click it and it brings a pop-up, and then that allows you to change the volume here. And that was just something we did to increase compatibility on a lot of devices. We'll probably release an update where you don't actually have to do it that way. Another thing that's different in Android, you've got all your sounds, everything that like you have in the iOS app. But when you audition sounds, you do it slightly differently. On iOS, there'll be like a little yellow button over here. So after you've picked a whistle, you press a button and it plays it for you. When you're doing that in the Android app, what you do is you say, I'm going to do the Baldwin chime. It automatically auditions the sound as soon as you press it. And so if you like it, you can press OK. If you don't like it, you can say cancel, and it goes back to the original sound that you have, which is cool, I think. Last thing I want to show you is the multi-train screen. So if I go over here, this is actually still considered beta because we haven't added consisting as of yet, which is today's date is late August of 2023, but I expect that to be added real soon. But so what I'll do here is I'll go to the home screen and I'm going to fire up this little trolley. And he's shown up here, and I need to connect to him. And so now once I've got the 2 on here, I can go to the multi-train button at the bottom. It has to read all the CVs for the trolley, and then I've got all my CVs from the trolley in here as well. and I can run this. I have multi-train just like I had on iOS. Now we haven't put the consisting screening ability in here, but we're about to add that. Also in Android you do get the functions button, which is something that you don't get in multi-train on the iOS, but so you can trigger your functions here. If you don't like where it is, you press it here and it'll move the function screen around and you just turn it off like that. So let's see, I guess that's about it. That's the skinny on the Blunami Android app. It's still technically considered beta until we add consisting, but it also supports some cool features that aren't available in iOS yet. The version in the Google Play store does support all Blunami decoders, including the new PNP boards. You can follow us here at Blue Rail on our Facebook page or on our YouTube page, and as we do more updates we'll let you know. Or you can also follow Soundtracks to stay informed on all these updates. This is Dave Reese from Blue Rail Train saying bye bye.